Zunächst einmal danke ich Ihnen, dass Sie mich eingeladen haben, hier zu sprechen. Mein Name ist Letske Siemann, deutscher Name, Siemann. Und ich bin Psychologin vom Radboud UMC in Nijmegen, den Niederlande. Zu Ihrem Leidwesen werde ich jetzt auf Englisch fortfahren. Ich spreche hauptsächlich Urlaubsdeutsch. Deshalb werde ich damit leider nicht durchkommen. So now we do it in English, and I try to do it at a normal pace. First, I would like to start an experiment. You're going to see a video of a conversation. It's a conversation in German, so that's good for you. And I ask you not to laugh. Don't. It's forbidden to laugh. If you feel you have to, don't do it. And if you must laugh, then you do like this. Yeah, have a deal? Okay, let's start the video.
Zwischen Deutscher und Österreicher, wenn man es generell ist. Deutscher kommt zu spät in eine Vorstellung, dann ist immer so dieses bückte, oh, ich bin so schuldig, oh mein Gott, ich bin so schuldig, oh mein Gott. Österreicher kommt rein, 20 Minuten später, schaut, hey, warum hat der schon angefangen? Ja. Also es ist so, es ist schon diese Energie. Und ich hatte wirklich, und das ist der beste Return, den ich ever hatte, also von einem zu spät kommen in 30 Jahren Tour, das war in Österreich, also im Zuge der Tour. Und dann, eigentlich waren 5000 Tickets verkauft, so, es war einer fehlte, genau vor mir, erste Reihe, der Platz, denkt man so, Veranstalter sagt, fang an, dann fängst du an, dann spielst du und dann machst du und du schaust aber immer auf diesen einen leeren Platz und immer das, wann kommt die Sau, was macht der? Also du hast es immer im Kopf, zweite Ebene so. Irgendwann kam der so nach 20 Minuten, aber nicht eben so, oh mein Gott, ich bin zu spät, sondern er ging an der ersten Reihe, mir rückwärts zugewandt vorbei, sprach mit den Leuten, Servus, da ist ein Platz frei. Setzt sich hin, schaut hoch, ich schaue runter, dann schaut er hoch und sagt wirklich original, hey, was ist los? Es ist spät, mach weiter, sehr lustig. Und
sehr lustig, sehr lustig.
Man ist tatsächlich, das ist so für einen Moment, okay. Ja. Und dann dachte ich, probier's einfach mal dozieren. Deutsch, habe ich gesagt so, wer zu spät kommt, den bestraft das Leben. Ich dachte, das ist lustig. Und er so, wer zu früh kommt, ist ein Spritzer. Und dann musst du liefern. Dann musst du natürlich liefern. Und er so, okay, warum bist du zu spät? Und dann sagt er, über im Stau. Und dann habe ich gesagt, super, ich meine, pass mal auf, Alter, 4.999 Menschen waren alle pünktlich da und du sagst mir, du warst im Stau. Und er schaut mir in die Augen und sagt, ich war der Letzte im Stau.
Okay, no laughing, but I heard. Was it hard not to laugh? Yes, and how it was hard.
Because it happens too fast. So you think about not laugh, and then you listen, and then you forget it, and then you laugh and say, "Oops, that was not the rule."
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, other people who had problems.
It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah. And what makes it uncomfortable?
I know it's stressful. It's like you want to laugh. It's natural.
Yeah.
Everybody in the video is laughing.
That's also a thing, eh? Everybody is laughing, so it rooms up a bit.
Funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was really funny. Yes. Okay, we come back to that later. Oh, that's not what I meant. I work with patients with facial palsy, and I'm so happy to see so many of you here. The first thing I always mention is this: the face is the starting point of all interaction, all communication. And in a split second, you see and you read someone's face and make assumptions about it. Is it sex? Is it a man or a woman? It's about age. Is it a younger or an older person? Status, intentions, mood, etc. And a visible disfigurement, and a visible asymmetry because of a facial palsy, disturbs this process. And I think as a patient you mentioned this. You walk and you see someone looking and that person, oh, wow, he has something on the face. And then he decides I'm going to do normal. I'm going to do whether there's nothing. or just ask a lot of questions. So the normal interaction process is disturbed at the moment you have a visible disfigurement. And I always tell my patients, before you got this facial palsy, you probably never thought so much about your face as you do right now. Because it's 24/7 on, it's 24/7 with you, and you think of your face when you enter a room, when you have a talk with someone else. So it's about the loss of your face, and that means that several psychological mechanisms will start. Psychological mechanisms, what are those? Well, they are diverse, and the reactions on a facial palsy are very different. Is there one rule, one? No. Everybody is different, everybody reacts different. And every person has its own reaction, and it depends on pre-existing personality factors and circumstances. And I don't know whether you have it in Germany, but in the Netherlands we have the glass is half full or the glass is half empty. Oh, thank God, I see nodding. You also have it in Germany. And that's a personality trait. Is the glass half full? Is it half empty? Yes, I have a facial palsy and I'm really bad about this, but hey, I'm still alive. Or I have a facial palsy and this is the worst thing that ever happened to me. So it's about personality factors. But it's also about circumstances. How did it start, your facial palsy? Was it treated well? Did you get to the good doctor who know what a facial palsy is? And was it totally unexpected? Or was it because of a tumor or an operation? That might be different. And a model I really like is useful in talking about this is a model with predisposing factors, the intervening cognitive processes, and the outcomes. Predisposing factor is, for example, age. And in research, we mostly find out that younger people tend to have more problems with the consequences of a facial palsy. Because they're younger, they're more into work thing, relation stuff, etc. So from research, it's that. Also, women tend to have more problems with the facial palsy. And it's also a bit of an evolutionary thing. What's the ground for that? So you have a lot of predisposing factors, but also this intervening cognitive processing. And that is about, is the glass half full or half empty? It's the dispositional style, the optimism versus the pessimism. Oh, one thing I forgot to tell, predisposing factor, social media. It's so big nowadays. With TikTok, with Snapchat, with Insta, where the beautiful, perfect face. And if it's not, why don't you do something about it? It's really a big thing, especially under young people. So that's also a predisposing factor. In the intervening processes, I really think it's necessary. It's so important, the social support, the people around you, the families, the friends, the people who understand what you have. Actually, they sometimes don't see it anymore. They say, hey, I get used to your face and I don't see it anymore. Well, you feel it every day, every hour, so sometimes that's also hard. And it led to outcomes. It can lead to social anxiety, avoidance, depression, etc. It's important not to generalize. Is everyone with a facial palsy depressed? No, not at all. Is everybody anxious? No, not at all. Certainly not. But you can have days that you're not in such a good mood because of your face. I also say I'm a psychologist in the Netherlands with the facial palsy team. Does everybody need a psychologist? No, really not. A lot of people get very well without me. You can't imagine, but it's true. They can go on. But sometimes it's good to have a conversation with somebody who really understands what it is to have a face which does not cooperate that much. But today we focus on the smile, and it's the theme of today, and smiling is a universal social code. And in the fragment you felt how difficult it is not to smile when you see something funny. And from research we know that smiling is a key component in the recovery of a facial palsy. And I have patients who say, if only my smile is okay, then I'm okay. Because it means so much to me in conversation, in communication, in interaction. Smiling is so important. And you can see it from an internal point of view and an external point of view, and I'm going to explain that to you later. Also, a smiley from your. The function of smiling, and Professor Fisher already mentioned it, laughter, smiling has a lot of functions. It says something about being eager to continue a contact, being open to others, and it provokes behaviors from the other person which can mirror your laughter, so that you see more social cohesion. And important, it can reduce stress. So that's important. And remember, and I always have to tell this because I'm also a teacher in communication skills in medical school, most of our communication is non-verbal. It's really bad actually. 80% is non-verbal, only 20% my words is important, so that's not a lot. But it's non-verbal and 80%, and you see that when you're not able to smile anymore, you miss something in a conversation. The good news is, you see here, you have compensation mechanisms which you might use. Gestures about it, body language, lean forward when you're interested, eye contact, and a tone of voice. So yes, smiling is very important. It gives a reason to go on, but there are also other mechanisms which can help if you want to show, I like this contact. Come on. What did I mean by internal and external? If we look at the theme of smiling, you can enter it from the person itself. And if you can no longer laugh fully, have a big smile, it does something to you as a person. And we heard about it in the first speech. You can be more reserved than you normally are, a bit cautious perhaps, experience feelings of anxiety within yourself. If you look at it from outside, you see maybe you get comments from people who think, whoa, your face, you look a bit grumpy. What's the matter with you? You can get some comments. You have to relate to comments about that. What are possible internal consequences? When I speak with my patients, they sometimes tell me, I don't feel myself anymore. I used to be a party animal, a party Löwe in German, but I'm not anymore. Because before the facial palsy, I entered the room, hey, here am I. But now I don't do that anymore. I'm just a silent spectator of all the stuff because I'm afraid and I'm not that enthusiastic anymore. Imagine what it is to have the feeling you cannot be the person you wanted to be or you always were. That's really bad. That's really stuff, I think. It can lead to social anxiety, avoidance of big groups, avoidance of a group of strangers. And communication is key, of course. Are you going to say something about it, or you leave it over there? Possible external consequences. of not having a smile are the reactions of others at your face and the possible assumptions. Everybody thinks I'm grumpy, just like Stedtler and Waldorf, the Muppets on the balcony, which is not true. I'm not grumpy at all, but I don't get my face in the good direction. So being not able to smile can have a direct influence at work, relationships, etc. Which lead me to this hypothesis, and I mentioned it before, it's the facial feedback hypothesis. The risk of less frequent social interactions can lead to social greater isolation, which have consequences in this. Because the facial feedback hypothesis suggests that your emotional feelings are influenced by your facial expressions. So when you laugh a lot, at the end, you feel more happy. It's all the way around also. If you look grumpy all day and all day and all day and all day and all day, at the end of the day, you really are grumpy. But imagine, and that's what we were talking about, if you do have the smile, is it also connecting with your feeling? And I don't know whether that with an operation, a smile operation, how that is. We have to find out that. I think that's important. When patients can't or won't smile anymore, they miss the feeling of positive emotions. Show less or no joy to themselves, can they feel happy? The prevalence of depression is substantial by research by Fu, Bradbury, Walker. But again, everybody depressed, everybody anxious? No, not everybody. People also show resilience and adaptation. I come later to that. When I was preparing for this, I was looking for some literature about it, and I found this really interesting conceptual review about how and why could smiling influence physical health. And literature says, yes, it's about it connects naturally occurring smiles and experimentally manipulated smiles to physical health and health-relevant outcomes. And as a matter of fact, it's about a smile a day keeps the doctor away, we hope. And this is the figure, what's mentioned in the literature review, and it says that a trait positive effect, so people who have the glass half full, they're getting more social relationships, more positive energy and emotions, and have also a better physical health. So smiling has a lot of consequences, as a matter of fact. But, is it all that bad? When I was preparing, I thought, oh my God, everybody now is depressed because I say things about smiling and how bad it can be, but we also have to focus on coping. How do you manage to deal with it? And the fact that you're here is the first compliment for you. You've come to this place, you are here in this room, and that's so good. And online, there are a lot of people who listen also. Welcome, everybody. So that's good. You're outgoing and you go to hear people. Is it also bad? Now we think about coping, about dealing with the situation. And what so many patients tell me, say, yes, it is really bad. I never thought something on my face is so, it is so in me. I'm so conscious of my face the whole day, and that's really what gives me a lot of trouble. So I think that's the truth. But I cope, I deal with it, and resilience is a kind of a new concept which we want to do some research about. Is the ability to adapt to stressors, to tragedy, to threats, to traumas, to facial palsy, and it's the ability to bounce back. So that's resilience, and that's what you really want to stimulate in patients with a facial palsy. Most patients show resilience, maybe not directly after the facial palsy, but after a while, most people are getting better. Coping, a strategy to manage difficult situations or emotions, and we divide it in two strategies. You have the problem-focused coping, and it involves addressing or altering the situation that aroused the negative feelings. Combat stress directly. And emotion-focused coping focus on regulating the emotional response about the facial palsy in this case, managing emotions such as anxiety, fear, or sadness. And coping also depends on experience in the past. If you did before problem-focused coping and it helped you a lot, well, hooray, you do it again. You can use both types. It's mostly a mix of it. And in my experience, the first year after you get a facial palsy, most patients are very problem-focused coping. What are we going to do to this? It's always bad news when we say in the hospital, we have to wait for a year. Really nice message. Not. I think as a patient you want to do something. What can I do to my facial palsy? And most of the times, in the case of a Bell's palsy or a Ramsay-Hunt, we'll wait. So that's hard. But it's problem-focused coping. We like to talk about surgery, maybe Botox, maybe neurostimulation, meme therapy, which also is big in the Netherlands. So that is the stuff which you target the problem with. Later on, there is sometimes more time for emotion-focused coping. How I'm going to deal with this and all those feelings will come also with the facial palsy. And what do you have to learn to deal with? Yes, gazing, looking at you. With the notion, everyone is looking. It can also be without judgment. I once had a patient and she was really worried that everybody was looking at her. And then she came to me and said, my friend says, you think everybody is looking at you, but hey, everybody is busy with themselves. They're not looking at you. And that really helped her a lot to go on. Because it can be that they look, but they can have no judgment at all, or whatever. Questions. You know that when you enter a room, people have questions for you. What do you have? Huh? Be prepared. Have your story ready. Think about what you want to say to this person. And it gives a sense of control if you are prepared to this. Also with comments. If people say, oh, you look grumpy, think about it. Ignore or give a good one-liner back. I also stimulate patients to do that. No, you look fine. That can help to manage the situation. What people also said, patients also talk to me, they hated, they lost their anonymity. In a group, it's always, oh, that's the person with that face, which is not very nice. What can help? Talking about it with someone who understands and can reassure that some of the issues are very recognizable. If I speak to patients with a Bell's palsy or Ramsay-Hunt, they really are, oh really, is this normal? Yes, it is normal how you feel. And that you're 24/7 busy with your face and thinking about it. That you hate photos, videos, movies, that's very normal. Every patient has it, at least in my opinion. So that helps to get through. What also helps is explaining the role of the face. It's psychoeducation about the importance of social interaction, about why you're really a bit tense when you go into a new situation. When you get so tired of people who say, oh, you look so much better. Oh, no, I don't feel that. Or I just feel 24/7 not so good. But you have to be happy with that remark and etc. So you have to deal with a lot of comments and questions. I always introduce the concept of mourning, and I say it's actually a saying goodbye to a And it sounds a bit dramatic, but most patients recognize it to a normal face, a face where you never thought about so much, but now you think about it very much. Fellow sufferers contact may be so helpful, so I'm so happy to see you all here because I think it's really helpful. It's a rare disease, so I think you don't see a lot of fellow sufferers, maybe in your own city or village. And this might be strange in Germany because I think you mostly synchronize movies. We do undertitles in the Netherlands. And with a facial palsy, I always talk to my patients, undertitle yourself. Help the other people to understand what you are meaning, what you are saying. If you don't say anything, the other person may not understand what's going on. So explain in a short sentence that suits you. Well, my face might not quite be helpful, but I think what you're saying right now is really funny. That's an undertitle. Or you may not see it from me, but I really like what you say it now. That's an undertitle. It helps other people because sometimes they can't read your face. They can't see it on your face, and you have to help them. That's where your responsibility is. Are there interventions on the psychological form? Yes, there are. There is cognitive behavioral therapy, social skills training, mindfulness and ACT, acceptance commitment therapy. But I have to be honest, it's all very small. It's very not evidence-based. It's not prepared likely for people with a visible disfigurement of a visible asymmetry. A few years ago, I did a group training for people with facial palsy. With 4 people, we sat together and we did a lot of exercises, etc. It was really fun, and it was good for the people to meet each other and also to practice situations at work, people who stare at you. How can you do that? But the effectiveness is limited and not very good researched. But I hope in the coming years I will do that. Hey, I hear someone. It's important to realize, and I think this is really key, you cannot change the behavior of others. You can't control your own reaction. So that's your point of starting with new behavior or whatever. And I'm likely to help with that. Back to the smile. Keep calm. And I hope you smile on. Danke fürs Zuhören.
Thank you very much. I promised you to stay on English for the discussion, so but I can try to translate forward and backward a little bit. Even I think your German is better than my English, but any questions from the audience to this talk about psychology? Yes, please. Put the button here. Yeah.
I have one question. How can I help or cope with, like, my wife has a facial palsy, and I also work in a neurological rehab, and I just would like maybe a tip, or if you have an idea how I can work better with it, or that we get more understanding with each other, because sometimes it's actually really confusing.
Yeah, I can imagine that. We once did a patient meeting, and we had a special program for the partners, because it's sometimes hard for the partners as well, how to react, and what in one day is really good, the other day is not okay. So, well, my tip is you have to take the other seriously, but also manage to put out your front, how do you call that, grenzen. Because that's also important that you stay healthy in it. And it's really true. Partners always sometimes say, well, I don't see it anymore. And that's the familiarity hypothesis. You get used to the face of the other. But for the patient, sometimes that's not fine. It's not good to hear because it's there. You can see it, and I don't believe you. So that's a discussion you're never going to win. But keep on to your own point. For me, this is the new normal, and I'm used to it, and I still love you about it.
I have one other question because we have we have two children. Is there something we have to do differently because their mother has a facial palsy, or they also grew up in the corona pandemic, so that's not helpful too? But
No, I always say try to act as normal as possible, but on the title. Sometimes mama can be sad. It's nothing to do with you, but hey, she has this on the face. You can explain a little, dependent of the age of the children, but mark it clearly. It's not their thing, it's your thing. I think that's the best you can do. And I have to be honest, most people with patients with facial palsy also tell me, sometimes really little kids come and they, wow, what do you have? And most patients say, no problem with that. The adults, they're far worse because they have odd questions and act a bit strange. Those kids, fine with me. I don't know whether that's true for you. I see some nodding. Yes, children are okay. They're honest and they just ask and they say, okay, and walk through. Yeah.
And most patients are one-sided facial palsy. So I think people who are used to it learn to focus on the other side and get the information. So I think it's partly true that we who are used to see a lot of patients with facial palsy learn to more or less read the information or get the information from the other side. So if less than 5% of my patients have bilateral facial palsy, and for me it's always or still disturbing. Still after 18 years, if someone comes in, very symmetric, nice face, but no emotional reaction, and then I realize, okay, it's a bilateral facial palsy, it becomes really, for me, more to think about, more for the emotional, to get on the same vibe with this person, in contrast to having something to do with the one-sided facial palsy. Of course, with one-sided facial palsy, I think we very fast learn this side is the whole information, the other side is a little bit scrambled, but also information, and the brain will work it out. And in real life, often you sit there in candlelight or in the sunlight, and you don't have a whole bilateral facial expression. You have only from one side a good view, from the other side, or you stand next to each other, and you get the information anyway. So this idea with the subtitles, and hey, telephone is working without any facial communication. So don't worry too much about the children. They have time to adopt it.